Just make sure this works. Okay. What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Catch Up with Cody podcast. I'm your host, as always, Cody. We have another live show, NBA talk. This time it features Tim from the Sports Reel podcast. I'm sure you guys have seen him a lot. I've been on their channel a couple times now, so it is nice for Tim to be able to join my channel. So, Tim, how are you doing? I know you just got done with a podcast, and now you're ready for round two. So,
I'm doing really good. Super busy, Cody. Super busy. Like you said, I just got done. I just got off of the Fun Football podcast with Isaac and Matt over there. We were talking a little NFL draft talk, which maybe, just maybe, we might cover just a little bit in here because that's big news right now. But I mean, that's not the whole structure of the show. This is all about the NBA. But I'm doing good, and I am honored to actually come on, the show with you because you've been on ours a few times now, and I haven't had the chance to repay the favor yet. So it's nice to be actually sit down and have a discussion with you in your element. It's a little bit different, for me. Like I was telling you, we were talking off air. We haven't had too many chances to do other people's podcasts. So, everybody always wants to come on and do ours. And it's nice to be able to start returning that favor and jumping on these. But it leads into some busyness. Like I said, I was double booked tonight. We have another live show ourselves tomorrow. So I think and then we did a live show yesterday. So in like the last 7 days, I'm going to be on here like 5 or 6 shows. So been super busy along with real life, working 50 hours a week and being a golf dad that runs a kid all over the place playing golf. So busy life, man. Busy. I'm tired, but the beer's cold. So I'm good.
There you go. Well, yeah, thank you again for coming on. Yeah, this is a new series I do. This we're talking NBA Finals. While we are currently talking, actually the Pistons are up 45-37. Me and Tim are big Pistons fans, so I guess let's kind of start with them. Obviously, down 2-1 to the Orlando Magic. I wasn't really seeing this coming. I know Orlando was coming in hot, with that play-in game and everything, but they are making Detroit look like the 8th seed for sure. What's have you paid attention too much, and what do you kind of see with this Pistons team from the 60 wins that we had in the regular season to now down 2-1?
Well, we've covered this on our show, and I think we've had this discussion with you, and you've been on the show and stuff like that when we've been talking about them being the number 1 seed and having that time off in between. Momentum is a hell of a thing. And Orlando playing that, the format that they're playing there and coming in there, they're coming in hot. They got a lot of momentum on their side, and that can carry you right now, especially with the Pistons coming a little bit cold because they had that downtime. It's something that the Pistons really need to get, a little energy under their asses, to be honest, because they need to keep up with that. Otherwise, that momentum's gonna overpower them and they're not gonna be able to come out of it. But it sounds like they're making a little turnaround right now in this game, which they need to do because you can't drop 2 games in Orlando there. They've already dropped 1 there, and you give 1 more to Orlando, and I'm gonna start sweating. Like, to be honest, when this all started, I thought this series was going to go 5 or 6 games, and I was given at least 2 games to Orlando. So I'm hoping that I'm right, and that's the last 2 that we give them. But yeah, it's Orlando's got the momentum on their side, and they need to stuff it. They need to put a stop to it now.
Yeah, and like you were saying, like in the beginning of this series, I had obviously Detroit dropping 1 in Orlando. And then when we did end up losing that game in Detroit, I'm like, are we ever going to win a playoff game in Detroit? It's like the fan base is there. I mean, everybody's behind this team, and it's like they fall apart at home and then they somehow decide they want to win on the road. But it was funny. I even wrote down like Jalen Duren, he's up for most improved player, but right now he's going up for the MIA award because he has not been good at all this series. Yeah, he can rebound a little bit, but as far as those points, he is not there at all. So I don't know. Do you think this will affect his contract for next year, or do you think it's just kind of he did what he needed to do during the regular season, so we're still going to give him that same cash amount as before?
there's a lot of talk about that right now, whether or not, he should get, extended, or, re-signed again for that amount of money. And it's really going to come down to, in my opinion, how he performs throughout the rest of this series. You know what I mean? You gotta, no matter how good you do in the regular season, if you can't perform in the postseason, that's where we definitely need it. But at the same time, I look at it right now, we're still pretty early into this series. We're 3 games in, we're down 2-1, leading this game. So hopefully we can hold this out and tie the series back up. After, that break that they had, because they did get that 1 seed, congratulations to the Pistons winning 60 games this season. It's amazing. They were the best team in the East all year long. I don't think they ever dipped below that the entire season. I mean, they carried the East all season long. And so I think it really comes down to how he performs for the rest of this. I think the downfall right now, and I wanted to bring this up because it's fresh on my mind and the beer's starting to get to me, the way that I think, Orlando's been beating them in the paint. The defense in the paint has not been good. And that's something that usually the Pistons do really well at, and they've been slacking in that area. So it's got to be the time off. I'm going to blame it on that. And that's all I got with that. But yeah, I think Duran, he needs to perform in the postseason if he wants to get re-signed. Otherwise, I have a feeling the Pistons just might deal him or not re-sign him, and he's going to go somewhere else.
Yeah, and that was my worry too. But I mean, obviously, like Cade's doing what he needs to do. I think they said he's averaging 31 points a game right now.
Yeah,
So there's nothing more that Cade can do. It's just the help. And this kind of really, during the trade deadline, everybody was like, they need to do something. They need to do something. Yeah, we got Kevin Huerter, but this kind of proves the point of what people were saying at NBA trade deadline is that Cade needs some people around him besides Jalen Duren, because if he falls off and everything like that. And, we were running a 12 or 13 man rotation there for a while. And Ron Holland hasn't played. I don't think he played at all last game, and he's been playing limited minutes. So I don't know what's going on with that. But yeah, something needs to happen. It just feels like it'll be a waste of a season. Unfortunately, you go 60 wins and then first round exit.
I mean, I hate to say it's a Detroit thing to do, but anyways, I still have hope. I don't think that's going to happen. I knew this was going to be a tough series. I called that a couple weeks ago when it got announced that they were going to have, not even a couple weeks ago, it was about a week ago. My time flies. I don't even know what day it is, Cody. I don't even know. But yeah, I called this was going to be a tough series. You got to think, Orlando's an 8 seed, but they're an 8 seed that was injured for the majority of the season. So we're not playing the same team that, got themselves into an 8 seed position. I mean, they're a much tougher team than that. So if we can get by them, they're going to be sitting pretty good because this is a very, very tough team. But, it's, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Where is the energy from this team from when Cade was out hurt and these guys were still just balling and winning? Like, where's that energy? Where'd that go?
Yeah, I honestly, and I don't understand why, because you would think, like you said, we led the whole East, I think, from start to finish. We first time getting 60 wins in forever, first number 1 seed. I mean, everything was going for us. So you think that momentum from the regular season would carry on. Like you said, I know we had that week in between when you're trying to figure out who you're playing from the play-in game and everything. But, when I was on your show, we were talking that Charlotte was going to be the team we were worried about. And we kind of swept Orlando under the rug. So, yeah, they need to figure it out. I was hoping that some of that momentum from the regular season would carry on. But I guess time will tell for this series and how it's going to go. But I want to talk about your player that you always say is out of this world, Victor Wembanyama. I don't know. Did you see that he just got out of concussion protocol?
Oh, he's finally out. I saw that he had gotten hurt. So, like,
I think he did play the other night, but it was limited minutes. So maybe he is from this planet.
Yeah, I mean that guy's an animal, and that's a team overall that worries me the most because Wemby. I mean, you need to test that guy for alien blood because he's an absolute thing. But when he went down and got hurt, I'm like, oh, maybe with him out, San Antonio doesn't get by this. But if he's out of protocol already and he's able to come back, what's that series sitting at right now?
That one is sitting at 3-1 San Antonio.
Oh, okay. So yeah, they got this one. So yeah,
Yeah,
I don't think that concussion is going to affect them at all as long as he can stay healthy through the rest of the postseason. But yeah, I mean to come back that quick, like I just saw that was announced the other day that he got a concussion. So if he's already cleared, watch out NBA because honestly, I think when we were doing picks this year, because we did it on our show and you were on the show with us, I think I had San Antonio possibly winning it all
you did.
this year.
Yep.
Yep, yep. So like, yeah, that's a scary team. Wemby, you can't beat that guy, man. Like that's a heck of a weapon, and I just how come he couldn't end up in Detroit? That's all I'm
I
saying.
know. And that kind of makes me worry too. If, if Detroit gets that far, that, you know, Jalen Duren's making Wendell Carter look like Wembanyama out there. So if he
Yeah.
can't hang with this guy, then Wemby's going to have a field day with Duren in the finals if it gets to that point.
I mean, he has anytime that we've played them, you know what I mean? That's been one of Detroit. I mean, I can't say it's their only kryptonite because I know Cleveland. I mean, I think we're 1-3 against Cleveland this year. So there's a lot of teams that really worry me. I remember when we were on the show, we were in the chats, we had Zach talking about New York and they're gonna and I'm like, New York doesn't bother me at all. I mean, Detroit's owned New York all season long, but there are other teams, in the East that worry me, and one of them is being Cleveland obviously, and then Boston. Both those teams worried me. Orlando was the last thing on my mind, to be honest. Like Charlotte, just based on there's a lot of animosity there between Detroit and Charlotte, and I don't know where it comes from, but it's interesting. Like, where do you think that comes from?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is they finally have, LaMelo Ball and Miles Bridges. Those guys finally are the number 1 and 2 players on that team. LaMelo, I just feel like it's maturity. But they're finally, I think, getting all the young pieces together and everybody's gelling. I now think it's their 3rd year all together. LaMelo, Miles Bridges, and Brandon Miller. So I think that definitely helps. Just the chemistry is building. But they're definitely going to be a team to worry about here, in the next couple of years. I mean, they gave Detroit a hard time a couple times, and that might be the new rivalry to look at as well.
I'm thinking so because it seemed to end in fights on the court, and I
Yes.
haven't seen that since back in the day with the Malice at the Palace with the Pacers. So, like that always becomes interesting.
Yeah, and that's why I was kind of hoping that it was them in the first round because that'd be a physical game. But Orlando's giving us some physicality too. So I don't know. We're either going to get knocked out of the first round because we can't win games, or they're going to, if we
Hey,
do get out of it, it's going to be physical, and we're going to have some bumps and bruises going into the next round.
don't you talk negative like that, Cody. They're getting through the first round, bro.
I'm hoping so. But you did talk about Cleveland. That's probably, besides the Pistons, is one of my favorite series. Them and the Raptors are tied at 2 games apiece. Um, James Harden typically doesn't play well in the playoffs, but this year with a new team, it's a new James Harden. He's been stepping up, and I can see that series going 7. The Raptors, another young team that finally have gelled well with each other. Um, who do you see coming out of this series?
Well, to be honest, it's got to be Cleveland because the Raptors are from Canada and they don't have a pope. So, you got to have at least the pope on your side. And obviously, the pope isn't going to support a Canadian team being from America. So, I got to see Cleveland coming out of this series, honestly. No, but all jokes aside, it's really hard to tell because Toronto's a good team too, and that's a tough thing. And it's like, Harden's playing well right now in the playoffs, but how long does that last for? Because historically, he has not done well in those positions.
Nope.
But, fresh place, fresh team, a fresh look at life sometimes can change a lot of things. So maybe this is what he needed to turn around and start playing well in these positions. And that's, it's a tough, fun series so far. And like you said, you've been really enjoying this series, and I think it's probably one of the better series going on right now. Other than the only other series I could talk about is possibly, and we'll get it to here in a minute, I imagine, is where LeBron James just came out of nowhere at 41 years old. So,
Yeah, I'm actually kind of glad you brought that up. This was going to be my favorite series going into it, because this could be the last time that we see Kevin Durant and LeBron play each other in the playoffs. But Kevin Durant got hurt, of course, again. So, you know, I feel like this could have been the best one, but with Luka out, Austin Reeves out, Kevin Durant out, it's like this ended up being one of the worst out of all of them as far as series wise. Um, but yeah, LeBron is, I mean, he's carrying the teams. I'm not a huge LeBron fan, but I got to give credit where it's due. And he's bringing a team full of, not star players. And he's probably going to get them for sure out of the first round. And who knows how much farther after that. But when Luka comes back, I think he's not going to miss a beat either. And they might be a team with Denver being down to the Wolves 3-1. LA might have an easy shot to get to the NBA Finals.
Yeah, I mean that's a strong possibility. I mean, LeBron being 41, and I've, if you watched our show over the last year, you would know that I've talked so much crap about LeBron, like we have as a whole. You know what I mean? But that's probably because a lot of us are just Jordan fans, and we believe Jordan's the GOAT and LeBron is not. And I'll still stand by that because I don't think LeBron could play in Jordan era basketball. It's much too physical for him, and he might get a hangnail. But like, no, I got to give him credit because he has come out of nowhere and he's carrying that team to exactly where they need to be, especially with Luka out. And everybody was thinking Luka was going to be the guy who was going to carry this team deep into these playoffs these years, even though I didn't think they were going to go very deep. And all of a sudden, it's LeBron turning this thing back on, and he's hot right now. Like, it's wild to see what a guy can do at 41 years old when he has to step up and take full control of this team. And he shows that he still has it. He is, I mean, I don't clip this, but he is one of the greatest to ever do it. I don't think he's on Jordan level, but he's close to it. You know what I mean? I put Kobe above LeBron, to be honest. And yeah, he's turning this thing on, and it's going to be interesting to see, especially like what are they saying about Luka right now? Like how much longer before the possibility of him coming back?
I think it's another couple weeks. I haven't done too much research into it, but I remember when that trade first happened that everybody was like, I don't know if LeBron and Luka are gonna gel well together, and I feel like LeBron's kind of like really showing out to be like, look, I don't need Luka. I can do this by myself. I've done it before, and that this might be like him passing the torch. Like, this is gonna be my last hurrah. I'm gonna get these guys, to the finals by myself, and then Luka, it's your turn to kind of take over and do what I do. But I don't know. Yeah, it's at 41 years old is crazy. I mean, I wake up and I'm in pain, so I can't even imagine how LeBron is just doing this at his age.
And you're not even old, Cody. Like I know how old you are. Like you're telling that. Like LeBron's a little bit closer to my age. So I know how he's got to wake up feeling every morning. But let me ask you this: do you think? Obviously, we know LeBron. LeBron's got a little bit of an ego. Granted, he probably deserves it. You know what I mean? Like the guy is, don't clip it, one of the greatest ever game. Do you really think this could be getting close to the end of his career, or do you see him moving on from the Lakers and moving somewhere else and trying to take another team? Because I guarantee there's a team out there that's willing to pay him a crap load of money to come play for him, even at 41 years old.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is I really think he's on. I don't picture him playing any longer than maybe 2 more years. I think it really depends on if they do win the NBA Finals. If they do that, maybe he'll move on to another team and try to win it somewhere else. But as a team, like that's got to be hard because yes, he's LeBron James. Obviously, he's one of the best players in the world. But with how well and how young these other NBA teams are, like, do you want to take that risk in hopes that you get to the NBA Finals, or do you want to keep your team young? You don't want to mess up the chemistry or anything, because when LeBron does come on a team, he also runs the organization, I feel like, wherever he goes, and he makes the decisions, coaching, players, all that stuff. So do you want to mess up that chemistry, or is it like, look, dude, you're the best, but we got a young team, we can't mess this up, and we're looking for the future? Because I only think he's got about a year or two left.
I mean, I can get behind that, and what you just said there, it makes a lot of sense. You know, he comes on a team and he likes to run it. Obviously, somehow or another, he got the Lakers to draft his kid, who has not panned out at all. You know, I mean, he's been sent down to G League, I think, a couple times at this point. So they drafted him pretty high, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and they
Like,
keep saying that he's going to wait until his other kid comes in too. So I don't know.
yeah, and that's wild. You know what I mean? But honestly, I think he is the type of player that as long as he can wake up, move down the thing, he's going to continue playing. And granted, I mean, you really look at it, if it gets to a point in time where he decides that he wants to go somewhere and he takes a massive pay cut, I don't know many teams that would turn him away just to bring that, that level of leadership to a team, even if it's to a young team, if they can get him on a steal. But at the same time, does he start getting into that area of affecting his legacy, kind of like Jordan did, later on when he was with the Wizards and stuff like that? I really think that affected Jordan's legacy by coming back and playing with the Wizards, and obviously he was older, so he wasn't playing at the same level he was while he was playing with, Chicago. Do you see LeBron getting to that point? I mean, we're starting to feel that a little bit, but then he comes out and he shines in these playoffs. So we're starting to see that level of old LeBron back saying, this guy can still ball at 41 years old. But throughout most of the season, everybody was joking on him, so, and he was being outshined by Luka and stuff. And, do you see that becoming a reality for LeBron?
Yeah, I can see him moving only if they don't win the finals this year, because then I think it's going to be Luka's going to be the face of that franchise, and I don't think he wants to be the number 2 option right now. Which I don't blame him. I mean, what he's doing is already history in the making, so he might as well keep going. But I mean, the one thing I think would be cool, and I don't know if he would do it only because James Harden is there, is does he go back to Cleveland one more time, full circle moment, to try to get that championship? So that's the other thing I can see. Um, but I mean, it's got to be tough because all he knows is basketball. I mean, he's been
Yeah.
playing literally his whole life has been basketball. So I don't know if it's more of he's just going to keep playing until his body's like, look, dude, we have nothing else to give, because I don't think he'll just walk away from the sport knowing he still has some gas in the tank. And like I said, his life after basketball, nobody knows what his life after basketball is going to be. He's only done basketball forever.
Man, the guy's rich as hell, bro. Like he could do anything he
That's
wanted
true.
to.
That's true.
Sports media, stuff like that. But at the same time, he's not a very he's not an exciting guy. You know what I mean? He kind of keeps to himself. So I don't know how well sports media would work out for him because that seems to be what a lot of athletes transition to these days. But like, and I'm sitting here thinking while you're talking about that, like, what could be his next move? Could it possibly be Cleveland? Maybe we see a reunion in Miami. You know what I mean? Does he go back to one of these old teams, or do they try to build another super team? Maybe team him up with Steph. Like,
Damn.
could he?
I didn't
Could
even
he?
think of that. Yeah.
Like super teams are a thing in the NBA. So like could that be I mean, obviously they got a little bit of one going on out there with LA. It hasn't panned out 100%, even though they're doing good right now and they're in the playoffs and they could go deep, you know what I mean? But teaming him up with Luca, you would have thought that would have been like a given. Like these guys are just gonna roll over everybody. But unfortunately that hasn't been a thing. Like my favorite's been San Antonio with Wemby in the West. So but I mean like, could that be a possibility? Maybe we see a little bit of LeBron James and Steph Curry teaming up.
That is a good point, because I did see that they're thinking that this was Steve Kerr's last year of coaching. And I mean, that dynasty, it's sad to see like that dynasty kind of fall apart. And really, once Clay left, it's like, damn, like it's really over. And now if they lose Steve Kerr, I mean, yeah, that could be cool. Like, Steph going out with LeBron. But like you said, though, does that kind of ruin their reputation? Because, okay, you guys teamed up. Obviously, I mean, who's going to beat Steph Curry and LeBron on a team? But in another side, I see it like from these guys' perspective. Like these guys, I've always wanted to play with each other, like all these superstars. So why not? I mean, just go out and have fun. So I can definitely see that being a thing. Do you see them playing with each other in Golden State, or do you see both of them leaving kind of like let's restart for this last year or two, whatever, go somewhere else, and then kind of go end on that.
No, if it happened, I would think it would have to be at Golden State. I don't think Steph Curry is going to leave Golden State, and it's probably a wise move on his part. I mean, he's been there forever. You know, it's one of those things where I think once players leave their teams, and I think this is an argument against, LeBron being the greatest of all time because he has been a team hopper that's been bouncing around to win championships at other teams. You know, what I mean, he's moved here. You know, what I mean, Cleveland to Miami to LA. You know, he's bounced around, and I think that hurts their legacy. I also think greatest center of all time, in my opinion, Shaquille O'Neal. You know, what I mean, him bouncing around the way that he did, especially towards the end of his career, I think hurt his legacy. I still think he's the biggest or the greatest big man to ever play the game. But I think towards the end there, bouncing around so much, especially by the time that he got to Boston, he was pretty much wrapped up and almost done by that point. You know what I mean? But bouncing around, I think, hurts their legacy. And I don't think Steph would be willing to hurt his legacy that way. So I think it would have to be at, Golden State.
Yeah, I agree. And I think especially with all the crap that everybody gave Kevin Durant when he went to Golden State. So it's tough. I mean, I know I made a video a couple weeks ago. Like, is Kevin Durant, he's a good basketball player, obviously. But do you think he's like a good basketball player, or do you think like he's always had people around him? I mean, both of his rings are with another superstar. So is it like because that era was when all the super teams were together? Or, I mean, like, do you think he could win an NBA Finals by himself?
That's a good question because honestly, let's really break it down. Like the last 10 years, the era of the super teams, you know what I mean? Like nobody's won a ring by themselves. You know what I mean? It's not, and you can even go back even farther than that. Like we brought this up on our show, like even back to the Jordan days. Would Jordan be Jordan without Pippen? You know what I mean? There's always another player on a team that you look at it. We go back to the Bad Boys day. Would Isaiah be Isaiah without Joe Dumars? Like you always have somebody else on that team. So I don't know if I'd reach as far to say that like he couldn't do it by himself, but I don't think this league is really set up to do it by yourself. And that's what, coming back to the Pistons for a minute, that's what worries me this year because we don't have that strong number two to go with Cade. You know what I mean? You almost need that strong number two.
Well, and I feel like it was Duren for a while. Obviously, regular season, we thought Duren was that number two, but it's got you thinking now.
Yeah, he's just not. I don't know if he's that guy. You know what I mean? You need that. You need another. An absolute stud. I mean, we even look at the Pistons last run, which was kind of an anomaly because we didn't have like a strong number 1, 2. It was a team effort. You know what I mean? Whether you had Prince, Billups, any of those guys, like it was all a team effort. And I was hoping that was the Pistons we'd see this year. And honestly, I don't know if that is the Pistons we're seeing. They've shown, signs of that this year, that working as a team. But as we get to the postseason, it's kind of not looking like that way. Cade's been having to carry this thing himself. But yeah, I think most teams need that strong number two. So I don't know has Durant always just been that one with a strong two? Could he do it on his own? I'm not sure. I mean, you look at anywhere that, LeBron's gone. Pretty much he's had a strong number two, whether we go to Miami when he had Dwayne Wade. You know what I mean? It's always been, that pair that carries you. So I don't know. I mean, he's a hell of a talent. Don't get me wrong. Could he do it on his own in this day and age? I'm not sure.
Yeah. And, this kind of goes into the next thing I was going to talk about with the game that's also on tonight, Denver and the Minnesota Timberwolves. I was going to say Anthony Edwards might have to do this game by himself because Dante DiVincenzo goes out with a Achilles tear, but Anthony Edwards got hurt too. So I don't know. Denver, they said that Denver is one of the 13 teams to like win, coming back 3-1. Do you see them getting upset by Minnesota, or do you think Denver's going to do what Denver does and just come back and win out and go to the next round?
Well, I mean, if I have to go off of our picks from the show, and I gotta look over to my co-host here, who's not to my left, unfortunately, because he's got a real job, has to wake up earlier. But Eric was actually he was picking Denver to be in the finals this year. So, I mean, if I went along with him, I'd have to say Denver, takes this thing over and wins this series. And with the injuries at Minnesota, I don't know if they can overcome, at Denver, because Denver's a solid team. You know what I mean? That I don't know if they're going to make it to the finals. Eric, he's pretty dumb. He doesn't make choices. Usually, if you want to know what's going to happen, pick opposite of what Eric picks, because he doesn't lose any of the I mean, he doesn't win any of the contests that we are not contests, but bets that we have, and he's the worst fantasy football player or manager I've ever met in my life. In fact, if you look at my phone, his name still to this day is saved as Eric Fantasy Loser because he's absolutely horrible at it. And he tries to, bet a lot. He's always talking about sports betting, but he doesn't win. Let's be honest. That guy doesn't win a damn thing. He just spends money. But no, I think Denver, with the injuries with Minnesota, I think Denver can take control of this thing and move on to the next round. Minnesota, I think they got a super bright future, and I think they're on the right track, and it's a team to worry about possibly in the future. But like, I could be completely wrong right now. Like you catch momentum can carry you through a series.
Yeah, and it is kind of nice to see all the younger talent now finally, taking over the league. I just saw today that Cooper Flag won Rookie of the Year, so he's definitely got a
Much
bright
deserved.
future.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Deserved. Yeah.
yeah.
Solid
It's
talent.
I mean, it's tough being on Dallas, and especially like the players that he could have been playing with that
Yeah.
unfortunately got all traded before he got there. But yeah, the young teams are really taking over, and kind of looking at the next series. Boston, they're a young team. Obviously Jason Tatum coming off an Achilles injury, just it's like he didn't even miss a step. I mean, they're toying with the 76ers. They really don't have anybody. Joel Embiid, doesn't play back to back, doesn't play basketball. I think I saw a stat that since he's been drafted, he's only played in like 60% of their games. So
That seems to be a new thing in basketball these days, though. You know what I mean? Like it's they do that weird management thing where like they sit guys a lot, and it's understandable. Basketball season's a long season. Was it 80 something games?
yeah,
You know what I mean?
82.
So I mean, and that just shows you, and I have to take this back because obviously I'm 42 years old, so I grew up in a different time when I really enjoyed the NBA. But it was much more physical than it is today, and it's honestly a little bit hard to watch, but I still do compared to thing. I'd much rather watch college basketball, which is more reminiscent of the NBA that I grew up on now because it's a much more physical game. But yeah, like they just seem to sit guys a lot more these days. Probably smart, but these guys just aren't built the same way they were back in the day. You couldn't go 82 games back in the day was no issues for a Jordan or a Scotty or a Pippen. I keep going back to the Bulls, man. I grew up a huge Bulls fan. Like I'm from Michigan. I wasn't a Detroit fan, bro. I was a Chicago Bulls fan. But I
Damn.
grew up I grew up in the Jordan era. Like you grew up in that era, it's hard not to be a Bulls fan. I mean, I got to go see at the Palace. I got to see, the Bulls play the Pistons in '96. I mean, I got to see Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, Dennis Rodman, all those guys, and they just beat the hell out of the Pistons that night, and it was absolutely amazing. So one of my best moments, and I was in the nosebleeds. I mean, those guys look like ants out there, but it was still amazing to see Jordan play live.
Damn. Yeah, I always like wish that I could see like that era of players play, but it's also crazy too to like think like the people and the players that I'm watching are going to be like that. They're going to be the Jordans and
Yeah.
all of them of the world, and then the next group, the Cooper Flags and all those guys are going to be the next face of the franchise. So it is kind of cool to see like even how the NBA's changed since I started watching basketball to now. And I mean, I can't even imagine how it's going to be from there, but we'll have to see. Out of the games, is there any surprising like teams that you can see making it to the next round that you thought maybe weren't going to get out of there?
Unfortunately, I'll probably say maybe Orlando. And I hate to say that as I'm wearing all this Pistons gear right now, but they got me worried. I know they're leading at the half right now. Somebody dropped in YouTube. Guys, Time with the Brides actually dropped into the YouTube chat, told us they were up 54-52 at the half. So we'll have to see. Pistons, pull your shit. Oh, I don't want to swear too much on your show. This isn't our show.
That's
I
all
gotta
right.
keep it somewhat clean. I've been saying that all that long. I'm like, because I had to go on 2 different shows. I was like, this isn't our show. I have to talk respectful. I can't drop the F-bomb every other word. But I mean, honestly, we talked about them already. I mean, it's the Lakers for me, to be honest. Like, I think the Lakers are going to pull this off and move on to the next round. I didn't see with Luka out. I didn't see them going very far because I wasn't a believer in LeBron this year, and I really think that they're LeBron's coming back and surprising me. I think that's my biggest surprise with the injuries on that team. Like, I thought they were done first round, and it looks like they're going to make it out of this first round, and possibly, who knows? I mean, they could go all the way this year, especially if they get Luka back.
Yeah, and God, I really hope he doesn't win again. I mean, I want to see Luka win.
Yeah.
But then that means LeBron's got to win another one. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I can see that being a surprise one. I mean, OKC's up 3-0. OKC, we've talked about it multiple times. They're probably just going to steamroll.
That's a given, bro. That's a given. I mean, they've been rolling for years now.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. We were talking about. I know we talked about Detroit already, but like, do you think? I was talking to my coworker today. Do you think if Detroit loses this game, that LCA is going to be packed, or do you think the fans are going to give up?
No, I don't think so. I mean, Detroit. I mean, honestly, you've been around long enough. Detroit fans, especially when it comes to playoff anything, it's not that place is going to be packed. It's going to be hyped. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to bring that Detroit energy. I mean, look how long the fans still packed, Ford Field when the Lions were losing, wearing bags on their heads. They were still buying tickets. You know what I mean? This town doesn't give up. It's one of the most expensive tickets in town. Like, have you seen the prices of playoff tickets? You've been talking about going to one. Are you actually going to pony up the money and go?
Well, I know it's bad to say this, but I'm kind of hoping if they lose tonight that they just like fire sale off these next tickets.
Oh, that ain't gonna happen, bro.
But no, they're ridiculous. I keep going back and forth because I'm like, do I want to go this round or do I want to wait to like go to the NBA finals or Eastern Conference finals? But the way they're playing, I might have to go. I might have to go this round because I don't know if I'll get that opportunity.
Well, I can tell you right now, if they make it Eastern Conference Finals, the tickets are going to go way up in price. So if you want to see them, I'd probably go now because it's only going to get crazier because that seems to be the Detroit thing. I mean, you look at the Lions right now, most expensive ticket in football, pretty much. You know what I mean?
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, and I've been wanting to take the family down. My kid is a huge Lions fan. I mean, that's our thing. That's kind of what got me into this was his love for the football and stuff like that. And we would talk so much sports and I've always loved sports myself, but talking so much with him, I got with Jason was like, hey, I love talking sports. And it was pretty much spawned off of my kid. And he's been on our show before. Like their tickets have gotten so ridiculous. I can't even afford. I mean, I could, but is it realistic? Like for me, my wife and my youngest to go down to a football game, it's going to cost us $1,500.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
You know what I mean?
I feel bad because my fiance's never gone, and she's like, "I want to go to a Lions game." I'm like, "This is a bad time to be going to your first game because, yeah, it's ridiculous."
Yeah, and those are for like not even good seats, Cody. Like not even good. You know what I mean? Like it's outrageous, and like hopefully one day, because my kid really wants to go, but I just haven't been able to break down. Like he's been to Tigers games, stuff like that, and even that's getting ridiculous. A couple years ago, I've told this story before on the show, and I hate to break off on a little sidebar here, but me and the wife went down, and my kid, he still had school. It was early in the spring, but we went to a spring game. It was in Cabrera's last year. We wanted to go out and see Cabrera play one more time. We had done it a bunch of times. Like we've been in suites, everything else down there. Been to a ton of Tigers games. My kid's been down there, but we wanted to see Cabrera one last time. He had school, so we were like, we're gonna buy tickets. We got third base side. Like we were 5 rows back from the dugout. Like we were right down there. We could see the players, stuff like that. I think our tickets were like $40 a piece. You know what I mean? For two of them, like $80. We went down to see the Tigers game. We priced those tickets out now. They're like well over $300 a piece. The last time we priced them out, it was like almost $400 a piece for those same tickets. And it's like, why? Because they're good now. Like when they
Exactly.
sucked. And on top of that, after we went there, uh, the Tigers, the organization, end up calling us and gave us free tickets to come back to another game to try to entice us to buy season passes for the next year. So they gave us ticket, and unfortunately, we couldn't go down and do those because it was on a day that we both had to work. You know what I mean? But they offered us free tickets to go back down, and that's when they were the drizzling shits. Like they weren't very
Yeah.
good right there. But it was Cabrera's last year. We wanted to go see him one more time. I'd seen Cabrera so many times, play in person, and it's one of my favorite baseball players of all time. So I wanted to commemorate that. And unfortunately, that wasn't his last season. So he didn't play every game. I mean, that's my argument against these long-term contracts to these players, because they get to the end of the contract, you don't see them all the time. So we went down, spent that money, didn't even get to see Cabrera play,
Damn.
unfortunately. And the Tigers lost. So but that was kind of a given at that point in time. So kind of a waste. But yeah, the prices of these teams when they start winning. But I mean, I remember when the Pistons used to play at the Palace, and I wish they still did, because that's 25 minutes down the road from me. Like I'd be going to
Yeah.
games all the time, and I know that's kind of you're not far from there either. So
No, it
like
would be nice if they were still there.
yeah, and I love the Palace, but even the ticket prices for that right now are ridiculous. Even Red Wings, they're not. I mean, they're good, but they're not like good enough to make the playoffs. Apparently,
Yeah.
freaking Iserman pissing us off. But their prices are ridiculous. The last Red Wings game I went to was one of the last games at the Joe, which was awesome to go there and actually be able to experience the Joe one last time. So I think it was their second to the last game at the Joe. So I got to experience that. They weren't even that expensive. Now, like to go do any of this stuff is just outrageous, absolutely outrageous. And the Lions being top of that list, but playoff basketball tickets, like if you're gonna go, Cody, I would probably think about going soon, because every round they go deeper, the more expensive it's gonna get.
Yeah, like I remember me and my dad, I think it was 2016. I ended up getting tickets for like 20 bucks right under the basket for the playoffs.
Yeah.
And yeah, like looking at them now, it's like $600 for that same spot. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what the heck? But yeah, I might have to do it. I might just have to do it. But it's like, it's that's the one thing that it's like right in the middle, because if we do end up going to the finals, like when am I going to be able to do that again in my lifetime?
I mean, that's very true. I mean, I've
So
got to see them and witness them, win a few championships in my lifetime. I mean, but besides them and the Wings, those are the only championships that I remember actually watching, our teams win. Obviously the Lions have never done it, and the Tigers last did it the year I was born, so I was a little too young to remember that championship. But yeah, I've got to witness it. So you know how many times they're going to make it. I mean, how long is that run? To be
yeah,
able to get that deep. So I mean, you might have to go now, and if they get there, you might have to go again,
might
Cody.
have to do it.
Yeah.
God. Yeah. Well, I do want to talk real quick. I know you were talking on Isaac's show about it, but the NFL draft, I guess let's I don't know if you want to kind of briefly talk about it again. Like I know you said that you
100%.
were excited on how the Lions drafted and everything. And was there any teams that shocked you? Like the one thing that shocked me for sure was Sonny Styles and Caleb Downs like falling a little bit lower than I thought they were going to in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little crazy to see them fall a little bit lower, but some of the teams out there are going to take what they need, you know what I mean? So you're going to see that from time to time where players are going to go, fall depending on what the needs are of the teams that are sitting up a little bit higher. But yeah, a little shocking, a little shocking. There were some big shockers to me in this draft personally. The Rams first round taking a quarterback. Little
Yeah.
shocking, especially when they're like right on that cusp of winning a Super Bowl. You think they'd want to add a big piece to help them, climb that mountain this year, because they're one of the favorites to go back to the Super Bowl this year. And they just added a quarterback as a replacement piece for Matt Stafford for who knows when, what's he got?
I
One,
was just
two,
gonna say,
three
yeah,
years
I feel
left.
like he's gonna be there for a while. So kind of early, I feel like, to be looking toward the future.
I mean, is it so it's early and we're looking at it that way because they are the favorites to go possibly to the Super Bowl this year, especially, the Seattle kind of lost some pieces this year. So especially with Kenneth Walker the third going over to Kansas City, he was a huge piece of that team last year, and now he's just suiting up for my second favorite team. So I'm pretty excited about that. But yeah, adding that piece right now, he's got to be one of those special talents that they see something crazy and to be able to give up that spot to go after a quarterback that's not going to start for 2 to 3 seasons. Like wild, just absolutely wild. Like that was one of the most shocking. And then the Lions shocked me a little bit, but not really shocked me because I had been talking about this for a while about, the possibility of moving Penei Sewell to left tackle and grabbing a right tackle. But in my brain, I just couldn't see through that. And when they drafted a right tackle, I'm like, man, I was right, but it still blows my mind because I thought there was still some good left tackle sitting out there. You still had Freeling sitting out there. Proctor went a little early. That was my pick. I wanted to see Proctor come here, but at the same time, I look at it and go, if you want to make sure that Jared Goff is protected, why not move the best tackle in the league over there to do it and then draft a right tackle? It makes more sense than what was going on in my brain. Like, I mean, my brain's all twisted up. Like that one shocked me, but it's exactly what I've been saying for months. So I don't know why it shocked me.
Yeah, well, because they finally did what they actually needed to do and kind of covered their needs that they needed instead of just wasting a pick on whatever they wanted to do.
Yeah, because generally Brad Holmes is just draft the best player available. You know what I mean? And they actually went, they went a direction that they needed to go, but I never believed that they would go and actually, draft a right tackle, the first round and then move Pineda left. Like it was wild. But let me ask you, how do you feel about the edge that we picked up?
I'm happy about it. I mean, I didn't pay too much attention. That's why I definitely wanted you to come on and talk this stuff too, because I know you really break down everything as far as the draft and pay attention to the college guys. But I think we did good. I think we helped Aiden Hutchinson, and the one thing I'm a little worried about is bringing in. Don't get me wrong, the two Michigan players are really good, but I don't want us to start going just hometown team, drafting hometown players either. We need to kind of expand, but
it's worked out pretty well for us so far, Cody. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson, Tesla, these are pieces that came from this hometown and has done pretty well. So I can't argue that. I think Derek Moore, drafted him at an edge. That was a solid pickup for a round 2 pickup. I think he's going to complement Aiden Hutchinson very, very well. He's not as good against the run. So it's kind of, he's along the lines of what Muhammad was when we lost, and we lost Muhammad this year. And I was always, a fan of Muhammad, and I want to see them re-sign him. But now we got, a player that doesn't cost us as much, so it's somebody that we can have at least for 4 years. We can build off of him, and maybe we can, get him into that ability to stop the run a little bit better. But his pass rushing is undeniable. And I was talking about this on the, with Isaac and Met over there at the Fun Football Podcast. Like, I would expect this year, you're going to probably see anywhere between 10 to 12 sacks from him this year, and that is, that's about the area that I would like to see him fill. And I would be super happy if that turned out. And I think that's a strong possibility because Aiden does get double teamed a lot. A lot of attention goes towards Aiden. So having a strong piece over there with that pass rushing abilities that he does, I think is going to work out really well. And I think that was a strong addition. You brought up the other, player that we picked up from Michigan. We got Jimmy Rolder, a linebacker. We lost Alex Anzalone this year. I think he's going to fill that role very well. I think he's younger. He's a little bit faster. He has the ability to, get on that ball right now. So he's the type of player that I was hoping that we would pick up in this draft. Somebody who can attack that ball and get on it now. And Alex was that player at one time, and he still kind of was, but he's he's in his 30s now. He's getting a little bit slower. I didn't want to see him leave. No hate for Alex Anzalone. Like, he was a great player for us. But for the money that we were going to have to pay him, I think this is, pretty equivalent to the player he was, with the, a strong upside of becoming even a little bit better in the long run. Overall, I mean, they really tackled that defense, and that's what we were talking about the last time you were on our show. They needed to tackle that defense, that we needed depth in that defense because injuries have been plaguing us for years. The only thing I wish they did, and I don't know if you agree with me, I wanted to see at least one more offensive lineman in this draft, and we just didn't get it. We did get a wide receiver though, but I would have rather, and he's a solid piece for that, and I think he's going to work out well. I think he's going to be a special teams help, but I wanted to see a little bit more depth, on that line. How do you agree?
No, yeah, I agree, because we need to protect Goff. I'm kind of confused on why we got another receiver. I feel like we already had a deep receiving room already.
I think it was mostly based on the fact that, like, we lost Khalif Raymond.
Oh, yeah.
I said Khalil, but we lost Khalif Raymond, so we need a little bit more depth, I think, as a special teams piece. And he's done a little bit of that in college, and he was very good at it. You know what I mean? And plus, he's not a bad receiver at all. You know what I mean? It's something that could really, move into that position and become, that fourth option, possibly a rotational piece. Obviously, we're already. I mean, the lines are stacked, bro. Let's be honest. I mean, you look at that receiver room, it's absolutely stacked. And to add that piece there, but with Raymond, gone now, you needed that, that piece that you could rotate in, and you needed that piece that could possibly rotate in, on special teams as a returner. And I'm partial to Kennedy. He did really well when he was put into that role last year. And I think he should be that number one guy right now. And I think we got Vaikai too, who did pretty well in that position last year. Obviously, Raymond was a beast in that position, and losing him hurts. But I think Kennedy can step up in that position. But to have a little bit of depth there with this kid that we just picked up, which is actually Kendrick Law, I'm pretty happy. I would have rather seen an offensive lineman in that position.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you talked injuries and defense. I kind of wanted to ask you on this. What is your opinion with Kerby Joseph? Do you think he's coming back? Do you think it's time for us to, part ways? I mean, I feel bad because the guy's got clearly a terrible injury going on. But yeah, do you think it's time to part ways, or do you think we give him another chance?
I definitely don't think it's time yet. By the way, when you bring up Kerby Joseph, I have to give a shout out at the front of my desk. You can't see it right now, but we are giving away a signed Kerby Joseph mini helmet on TikTok. So keep a lookout for that. I'll be announcing that later this week. But I don't think that it's time to move on from him yet. The knee injury, none of us really know what it is. They've been pretty, tight-lipped about what it is. But what Brad Holmes did say was that both him and Brian Branch are progressing very well, and they're on track to play again this season. Now, does that mean right away? Who knows? You know what I mean? He didn't give insight on that, but I think it's too early to move on yet. We have to see how this injury goes this year. That's another thing you bring up. It's kind of funny that you bring him up, because I talked about this on, the Fun Football podcast earlier, that another piece that I think we really needed to pick up in this draft that they did not address was safety, for that exact reason. But I think Kerby, he deserves at least another year. You know what I mean? He had a rough year, but this guy's a ball hawk. You know what I mean? He led the NFL in interceptions 2 years ago. You can't walk away from that from, just, a bad year, last year with that knee injury. Now, if the rumors are true that this is not operable, that it's something that just, it's built up over time, maybe that's something that you look at next year, but you got to give the guy at least another chance to ball out. And I've seen some training footage of him. He's moving pretty good. So we'll have to wait and see.
Good. Cool. Yeah. Honestly, I had a great time chatting. I really appreciate you coming on. I know we obviously talk here and there all the time, and I'll be actually in studio May 5th.
Yeah, May 5th. We got you and Matt from Lipsbuck and Chirps coming on the show May 5th at 6 p.m. at the PFC Entertainment Network on YouTube and Facebook.
There we go. Is there any last minute things you want to, talk about and then plug your stuff? But before you do any of that, I just want to say thank you for, all the support you do behind the scenes. Like I said, we text back and forth, the support and the tips and tricks you give me. So I just wanted to say that for sure before you plug your stuff.
Man, Cody, it's been an honor to finally get on with you. We're gonna have to do this again here. You know what I mean? Like, I've had a lot of fun tonight. And it was awesome to actually get on catching up with Cody, talk a little basketball, move on to a little bit of football. But before we do that, real quick, I want to know, who do you think did the best in the draft this year?
The best, I honestly think Arizona. I know it's kind of weird that they have all those running backs right now in the running back room, but I think they're going to make that work. And they obviously they had to find a quarterback. No offense to Jacoby Brissett, but I think bringing in Carson Beck, and Jeremiah Love, I think that team's going to be something to worry about. They're definitely going to make playoffs and everything. And Carson Beck's a good quarterback, so I think he'll fit in just fine. With the rookie quarterback, rookie running back. So Arizona definitely was the team I think that did pretty good in the draft this year.
I mean, I agree with you there. I think who stole the show, it's got to be a toss-up between Dallas, and I hate to say that, or the Giants. I think the Giants won big this year, and I think that's
yes,
they're going
to be a team they're going to be a sleeper team this year. I think they're going to sneak in under the radar with everybody.
Yeah, I think on Sunday's show that we did with Nathan Mulugeta, I said I think the Giants are going to probably work their way back into the Super Bowl in the next 2 to 3 years. So, especially with Harbaugh as their coach now, like that's a solid team. But yeah, that's my pick. But other than that, man, tomorrow night, 6:45 p.m. Eastern. We bounce back every week, so it's hard to tell which week it is. 6:45 p.m. Eastern. We got the guys from Two Guys One Pod joining us. We're going to be talking a lot of NFL draft talk. That's at the PFC Entertainment Network on YouTube and Facebook. You can find all of our other socials, whether it's TikTok, X, Instagram, all that. You can search the Sports Reel Podcast or just search Sports Reel PFC. Give us a like over there. Like I said earlier on TikTok, we're going to be giving away a signed Kirby Joseph mini helmet here. I'm going to be announcing the giveaway later this week, so that's going to be awesome. Other than that, May 5th, like you said, 6 p.m. Eastern at the PFC Entertainment Network on YouTube and Facebook. We're going to have Matt from Lips Bucket Chirps and Cody from Catching Up Cody right here in the studio. So, Cody, I really appreciate you, man. I've had a lot of fun tonight. It's been a blast. We need to do it again. I know you come on our show all the time, so I like to return the favor here. And it's nice to jump on and get a little bit of a different feel for me. So, and then I don't have the other annoying guy. I mean, Jason's not so annoying, but Eric is. So it's kind of nice to kind of go, one-on-one with somebody else for a little bit, because I always have Eric in my ear talking shit. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to get all three of you guys on again soon. I know it's tough with scheduling and everything, but we'll definitely make it work.
Definitely. We'll do it. And I'm sure we'll talk before then, but I will see you in 2 weeks from tomorrow. Yeah. No, a week from tomorrow. Yeah.
I was gonna say next week, right?
Dude, I don't even know what day it is. I'm looking at the schedule going right now. I have people don't even realize I booked myself so far in advance that I'm looking at the schedule going, what week it is? And I was
gonna say, you're gonna need a second whiteboard in that studio.
I'm gonna have to clean it off because it's half gone and I'm already almost all the way booked through June. So it's wild. But yeah. And also I got to give a shout out to Nathan Mulugeta. We had him on the show yesterday. We'll be dropping that on the RSS feed. Awesome young guy. Great player. Chasing his dreams, you know what I mean? We had a lot of fun with him on the show, and we're going to be getting him back on the show here eventually once the season's wrapped up. So if you get a chance, go over to YouTube and check out that show that we had with him. Great show, awesome time. It was really cool. So yeah, go check out YouTube at the PFC Entertainment Network, and you can check out that show. It was a lot of fun. Huge shout out to him.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of it. Yeah, that's really cool that you guys are getting athletes on there. So keep doing what you're doing. We talk about it all the time.
All right. Appreciate you, man. And I appreciate you having me on again. Let's do it again soon.
All righty, for sure. Have a good night, man.
All right. You too.